Unfortunately, there are many things that can go wrong in your Cambridge English exam. The B2 First, C1 Advanced and C2 Proficiency exams are big, complicated exams with lots of different parts. And there are various different things that can happen on the day of the exam that you probably don't want to happen. But the good news is that most of these things are within your control, because if you're well prepared and you've practiced all the different parts of the exams, things like running out of time or not understanding the task or not knowing how to perform in the speaking paper, for example, that won't happen because you will be prepared and you'll know exactly what to do. So in this video, what I want to talk about are things that are out of your control. Things that can possibly happen, things that can go wrong on the day of the exam, which have nothing to do with you, nothing to do with whether you're prepared or not, whether you have the level or not, but they can go wrong. I'm going to assume in this video that you're going to be very well prepared on the day of the exam. Maybe because you've watched my videos or you've taken one of my preparation courses, or maybe you've prepared with someone else, but the fact is you're going to be prepared on the day of the exam. And also things like logistics. You know how to get to the exam center, you're going to arrive on time, you're going to take some water and something to eat. So you're going to be prepared in general for the exam, but some things can go wrong. And it's not about whether these things happen, it's about how you deal with them when they happen. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is related to the speaking paper, and it's what happens if you get a difficult speaking partner. In some parts of the exam, you will need to interact with your partner or partners. You'll either be in a pair or a group of three. And a big part of the exam, what the examiners are looking for, is your ability to interact and collaborate with your partner or partners. But the question is, what if your partner, for example, speaks too much? What if your partner speaks too little? What if your partner is completely unprepared? They haven't done anything to prepare for the exam. They have no idea about the tasks or what they have to do. Or what if your partner just doesn't have the level? Maybe if they have a really low level and they just can't communicate with you. Well, probably your first instinct, if you realize you have a difficult partner, will be to panic. You'll think, wow, this is so unlucky. Why did I have to get a difficult partner? This is going to affect my score. All those kind of thoughts are going to go through your head. But those thoughts shouldn't go through your head, because you can actually see this as an opportunity. Now, what I always recommend to my students is that before you enter the exam room for the speaking paper, you talk to your partner. You should know who your partner will be before you enter the exam room. You should have a few minutes at least. So talk to your partner in English, get an idea of their level, get an idea of how prepared they are for the exam, and just get an idea of what they're like. And also, it's a good idea to speak to your partner because you're warming up, you're using English before the test. So that will give you a good idea before you even start the exam of what kind of partner you have. But then if you notice during the tasks that your partner is not interacting well, as I said, maybe they're speaking too much or they're not speaking enough, or they just don't know what to do, then see it as an opportunity for you to demonstrate that you know what to do, you have a good command of English, you can control the situation, you can help your partner by either interrupting them, because you will be helping your partner by interrupting them if necessary, or by encouraging them to speak and helping them through the task. The examiners will notice that and give you extra marks, not because you're more prepared. The examiners don't really care whether you're prepared or not, but you'll be able to demonstrate your level of English and how you can communicate and interact with your partner in a difficult situation. Now, if you get a perfect partner, fantastic too, because you're going to have a fantastic interaction. Your partner knows the task, has the level, and is able to interact with you. So it's all good, really. Now, something else that can happen in the speaking paper, which is not really within your control, although it is about you, and it could be that your mind goes blank. So this happens very often. I've seen it a lot with my students when we're practicing with the speaking paper, and it happens in the real exam because of nerves. Your mind goes blank and you can't finish a sentence, or you can't remember a word, and you just don't know how to continue. And that has nothing to do with your preparation, although the more you prepare the speaking tasks, generally the less that happens. But it still could happen on the day of the exam, even if you're really prepared and you have the level. It can happen. It happens to everyone. So as I always say, it's not whether it happens or not, It's about how you deal with it. So I just recommend that you're honest. Maybe make a joke about it and just say, oh, I'm so sorry, I lost my train of thought, or my mind's gone blank. Just be honest, laugh, and take a few seconds and then continue. You can't stop. You can't just say, I can't continue, because you're being evaluated and you need to give the examiner's content to evaluate. Another thing that can happen in the speaking paper is that perhaps you don't understand the question that the examiner asks. Perhaps there's a word in the question you don't understand, or perhaps the interlocutor didn't express themselves clearly, perhaps they didn't articulate clearly, perhaps they have a really strong accent that you didn't understand, or maybe just at that moment, again, your partner coughs, or there's a noise and you didn't hear what the examiner said. Now, a lot of people, again, panic in this situation and they think, oh, I don't know what the question is. How can I answer the question if I don't know what it is? But it's simple. The solution to this one is simple. Just ask the interlocutor to repeat the question. There's absolutely no problem in doing that. This is not a listening test. We're talking about the speaking paper in this case, so they're not evaluating your listening ability. So just ask the interlocutor to repeat the question, and then hopefully the second time you'll understand it. If you don't understand it after the repetition, if it's the interactive task, then you can perhaps pass the ball to your partner and ask them to start. And maybe they understood something that you didn't, so when they start responding, you get an idea of what the question was. Or if not, just use the words in the rest of the question to try to infer what they mean. Just try to guess what the question is and do your best. You just have to speak. Remember, the objective is to give the examiners content to evaluate. And you should answer the question, but if you're not sure, you have to speak. You just have to say something. Now, apart from the speaking paper, there are things that can go wrong in other parts of the exam too. Now, I already mentioned in the speaking paper that if you don't understand the question, you can ask for repetition. But in other parts of the exam, in the reading and use of English and listening, and even the writing to a certain extent, you may not understand the written questions. So it's not about your listening comprehension, it's about understanding some words in the questions that are written. Again, this is kind of within your control, but not completely, because you can't learn every word in the English language before the exam. And I'm referring to the questions here, not the content of the reading, for example, because there will almost certainly be words you don't understand in the reading papers. So in the articles you have to read for the reading, because that's part of the test. You're not really expected to understand every word in the reading. But in the questions, you should understand every word, because they don't usually use extremely advanced vocabulary. But it's possible it's just a word you don't know. And although part of your preparation should be expanding your vocabulary, we all have gaps in our knowledge. And if on the day of the exam one sentence includes a word you just don't know, then you have to deal with it. So in this case, you just stay calm again, but think about the other words in the question. Often the other words and the context help you to infer the meaning of the word that you don't understand. So use those other words to get an idea of what you think that word might be. You might not get a specific, precise idea of the definition of the word, but you can get enough of an idea to understand what the question is asking of you. And also the content of the text, maybe the options in the multiple choice questions, everything taken into consideration will help you understand the meaning of the word. Something else that could happen, especially in the listening paper, is that you could be distracted. Something might distract you. So again, this is kind of out of your control, because there are noises that, it could be that the other people in the room, the other students taking the exam may rustle some paper, they may cough, there may be a noise outside in the street, or I don't know, it depends where your examination center is. But you may get distracted, and you really want to try to avoid that. Again, the more you prepare, the more you learn how to focus on the tasks, but there are things that are out of your control. So again, what to do in that situation? Stay calm, take a deep breath. Remember that in the listening paper, the audios are repeated. So if you miss something, make a mental note of where you missed it. So think about what you heard before and after the part that you were distracted for or you didn't hear. And then the second time you listen, pay a special attention to that part of the audio. I mean, you're going to be paying attention to the whole audio, but at that point you'll remember, okay, this is what I missed last time, so I really need to focus to make sure I get it this time. If it is the second time you listen to the audio, when it happens, try to remember what you heard the first time, or try to think, this is where I was distracted. Okay, I remember the first time the speaker was talking about this, so hopefully you'll be able to get the right answer. Of course, sometimes you won't. Unfortunately, you may not get 100% in all of the parts of the exam, but these tactics, these strategies will help you to do as well as possible. But if you accept that things can go wrong, you'll be more prepared on the day of the exam. Of course, as I said, many other things can go wrong, but they're within your control, like time management. If you don't have a time management strategy for the reading and use of English and writing papers, you're going to struggle. And that's why in my online courses, I really focus on strategy and the best way to approach each part of the exam. But the last thing I want to talk about in this video that can go wrong, again, completely out of your hands, there's nothing you can do about it, but technical issues. And this is particularly relevant with the digital exams. Now, Cambridge are really pushing the digital exams now. They really want people to choose the digital option over the paper-based option. And I often recommend that to my students because there are many advantages to taking the digital exams, but there could be technical issues. It's very rare, it's very uncommon, but it could happen. And again, if it happens, you need to know how to deal with it. So if, for example, your screen freezes, as I said, don't worry about this because it's very unlikely to happen. But imagine your computer screen freezes, or maybe your headphones stop working. Again, deep breath, stay calm, raise your hand, get the attention of the invigilator. They will come, pause your exam and help you. Now, in the digital exams, your answers are saved, so you won't lose your previous answers. That's very important to remember. So don't panic if you have a technical issue. And if it's such a big technical issue, like the system shuts down completely, again, it's unlikely, and you lose your answers, they will offer you another date for your exam and they won't charge you any more. I know that's frustrating, but you will have another option. So even in the worst case scenario, you're not going to just fail the exam because of a technical issue. It's not your fault. As I said, these are very unlikely scenarios. They shouldn't happen in your exam. So the important thing of everything I've said in this video is that you stay calm if something doesn't go to plan as you would like it. And again, the more prepared you are, so the more time you spend preparing before the exam, the calmer you will be on the day of the exam and the more focused you can be in order to get the best score possible. Okay, what about you? If you've taken a Cambridge English exam before, have you ever encountered any of the issues that I've mentioned in this video? Did anything go wrong in your exam? Share them in the comments because I'm sure that will help other people who are preparing for their exams now. And I'll see you very soon for another video.